So I'd like to introduce to you techniques for producing short videos that are very useful to either introduce topics or to clarify topics for students. So I'm using an application or an app called Doceri on the iPad. There are lots of different applications that can do this across a number of platforms. I like Doceri because not only does it allow me to record on the iPad itself, but I can use this to control my desktop, and that's demonstrated in a different video, and I can therefore record myself giving my lecture, controlling what I'm presenting to the students, and have a record of that I can easily post at a later time. I like to use the Rode microphone that you see there. It plugs right into the iPad. It gives me pretty good sound quality, as you can hear. So let's say I've just done my lecture on cold injury and illness, and my students always seem to have a little trouble with the idea that surgeons no longer go in and amputate immediately. So after the lecture is over, we've covered the basic idea that we no longer rush to amputate tissue that looks dead. Then the students can come back and they can look at a video, and I say, okay, so here's a thumb that's clearly very, very badly frostbitten. And we might take a look at it and say, this part clearly won't survive. This part here may or may not survive. And we really can't tell. And so, historically, surgeons would have come in and they would have cut away all the black areas there and left an amputated thumb. Well, unfortunately, many times they would take tissue that would otherwise revitalize itself. So early on, I can't tell. Is it going to survive from here back? Is it going to survive from here back? Or is it going to survive from here back? And so what we've taken to doing is, instead of amputating early, we allow the patient to go for several months and just watch for signs of infection, and eventually the body essentially auto-amputates the part that won't survive and revitalizes the tissue that will survive. So by adding that additional description, and I could go into further detail, that gives the students a place to go to get a better understanding of something that I covered briefly in class. Just as easily, you could introduce a concept with a video before class and then go into much greater detail in class. So we talk about a center of gravity and a center of buoyancy and why a ship remains upright and on an even keel, and then we apply a force and we cause rotation and we cause misalignment of the center of buoyancy and the center of gravity, and a force is acting that attempts to realign those two. So we introduce that concept. Then when students come to class, they have that idea that there is a force, and we can cover it in great detail. Finally, you could even do a really brief presentation of explaining some percentile to fraction conversions and say that 2/5 equals 0.4 equals 40%. And you can draw out problems, you could draw out circuit diagrams, you can draw whatever you want, record this, and this is really nice for mathematical concepts that students have particular trouble with. You can break down solutions into multiple steps, showing each step separately, and then ultimately you can use some other tools to weave all of those together so the student could watch the solution end to end, come back, pick out the area they're having the most trouble with, watch that a few times, and then maybe watch it end to end again.